Hello everyone, myself Khushi Ravya and my today's presentation topic is Orlando and the evolution of gender fluidity in literary history. These are my personal information, table of contents, research question. How does Orlando's depiction of gender fluidity and how has it influenced modern discussion of identity in literature and gender studies? Hypothesis: the depiction of gender fluidity in literature has evolved from a tool of disguise or necessity in early texts to a more instinct and celebrated aspect of identity in modern literature, with Orlando serving as a pivotal transition that redefines gender as fluid, performative, and unrestricted by time. Introduction: Virginia Woolf's Orlando, published in 1928. Its groundbreaking novel that redefines gender as a fluid and ever changing. Unlike earlier texts where gender transformation was temporary or tied to external circumstances, Orlando presents it as an intrinsic part of selfhood. This present examines how Orlando fits into the broader literal history of gender fluidity by comparing it with key characters from classical mythology, Shakespearean drama, romantic literature, and modern works. Gender fluidity. This definition given by Kate Bornstein: gender fluidity is the ability to freely and knowingly become one or many of a limitless number of genders for any length of time and any rate of change. Gender fluidity recognizes no borders or rules of genders. Gender fluidity refers to the ability of a character to shift between genders, to exit outside the traditional male female binary. According to Judith Butler's theory of gender performatively, she states gender is a repeated stylization of the body, a set of repeated acts within a highly rigid regulatory frame that congeal over time to produce the appearance of substance, a concept reflected in Orlando. Orlando's influence on modern literature. Virginia Woolf Orlando, published in 1928, a groundbreaking novel of gender transformation, revolutionized gender in literature, challenged fixed gender identities, foundation for queer and feminist theory, inspired discourse on gender fluidity. Modern gender fluid characters influence the left hand of darkness and ministry of utmost happiness. Aesthetic and philosophical impact redefined gender as a fluid evolving experience. Tyresia is a example like Orlando, a mythological icon of gender fluidity, transformed by the gods living as both a man and woman. Challenges fixed gender identity, symbolizing fluidity and dual experience, used in myth to explore man and female perspective. Early literally a precursor to gender fluidity influencing Orlando, reflect the ancient view of gender as mutable rather than biological fixed. Renaissance gender fluidity. William Shakespeare's Rosalinda, character of As You Like It, published in 16,000, disguises herself as Ganymede, using gender as a perform to navigate societal constraints, challenge rigid gender roles, embracing fluidity for autonomy and expressions. Viola, example of 12th night. Another Shakespearean figure who cross dresses, blurring gender boundaries. Aesthetic and theoretical exploration of identity, influencing later works like Woolf Orlando. Medieval and early modern periods gender fluidity. Joan of Arc, a literary and historical icon. a peasant girl who led the French army to victory during the Hundred Years' War, defining gender norms by dressing as a male warrior. Executed for heresy, later canonized as a saint. Mm, In article Sequel West quote about her, a disorderly woman dressed as a man. Legacy in gender and identity, symbol of gender nonconformity, breaking societal expectation and femininity, and enduring literally and historical figure influencing later works including Virginia Woolf's Orlando. Joan of Arc in literature. She has been immortalized in literature by several writers like William Shakespeare. In Henry VI, Part 1, portrays Joan as a warrior and a mystic, but present her controversially blending history with English propaganda. George Bernard Shaw in Saint John, a modern play depicting Joan as a heroic visionary figure and an early feminist who challenges authority. Mark Twain in a personal recollection of Joan of Arc, a historical novel presenting Joan as a noble and virtuous leader different from his usual satirical works. The Victorian era and gender restrictions. Jane Eyre asserts independence but conform to societal gender norms. Uh, Jane does move from silence to speech, thus providing a model of feminist resistance and liberation. Uh, In Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, the protagonist asserts his independence while navigating the constraints of Victorian gender norms. Critics have interpreted Jane's journey as a model of resistance to the era's conceptions of woman's role. Late Victorian era and gender fluidity. Dorian Gray. In the picture of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde uh, uh, portrayed like Orlando character. Aestheticism and transformation blur identity boundaries. Eternal youth as a metaphor for fluid self-perception and moral ambiguity. Challenge the Victorian ideals of masculinity and beauty, aesthetic represent of identities and duality, influencing modern gender fluidity discourse. 20th century and beyond gender fluidity in modern literature. Stephen Gordon, this character from The Well of Loneliness by Redcliffe Hall, early literally represented of gender nonconformity, challenge heteronormativity, explores identity struggles in a rigid society. Aesthetic and psychological depth influences later queer and gender fluid narratives. Foundation for modern discussion, precursor or to Orlando and contemporary gender discourse. Gender fluidity in modern literature. Ursula Kelly Guin, example of the by the left hand of darkness, in depicts an androgynous alien society. Gender as fluid and contextual. Individuals shift genders, challenging binary norms. Aesthetic and philosophical exploration examines identity beyond human constructs. Influence on gender discourse inspired later feminist and pure science fiction. Conclusion. Virginia Woolf's Orlando revolutionized the portrayal of gender by presenting identity as fluid and ever changing. Throughout literary history, from Tiresias and ancient mythology to modern works, writers have challenged rigid gender norms, reflecting evolving societal perspectives. Orlando not only influenced feminist and queer theory but also paved the way for contemporary exploration of gender fluidity in literature. Today, gender indefined remains a central theme of storytelling, providing that literature continues to shape and redefine our understanding to self and identity. These are my references. Thank you. If any question, free to ask.
Kushi, my question is what makes Orlando's transformation different from other gender fluid characters in literature?
Orlando is a unlike tragic, and Orlando's transformation is joyful, unrestricted, and emphasizing self exploration and freedom.
So, Kushi, my question is that how does Orlando influence modern discussion on gender?
Uh, it laid to groundwork for contemporary gender theory and non-binary identities in literature, and also inspired discussion on trans. Thank you. This is from my side.